PragerU, what do you
The
have?
change from wishing fellow Americans Merry Christmas to wishing them Happy Holidays is a very significant development. Proponents of Happy Holidays argue it's no big deal. Proponents of Merry Christmas are making a mountain out of a molehill. But
yeah, that's actually true, but what's the actual point going to be?
Happy Holidays advocates want it both ways. They dismiss opponents as hysterical, but at the same time, in addition to replacing Merry Christmas with Happy Holidays, they have relentlessly pushed to replace Christmas vacation with winter vacation and Christmas party with holiday party.
Where? Where have they tried to do this? Granted, I'm an atheist who says Merry Christmas. That's the culture I grew up in, so it's the thing I'm going to say. But what's wrong with saying Christmas party versus saying Hanukkah party versus saying Yule party versus saying Kwanzaa party? Or just saying winter party if you're secular? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There may be a small subset of people that want to see it replaced, but I don't see why that small subset is... I don't think they're making an impact. I've actually never, outside of like right-wing news outlets, heard the adage that we aren't allowed to say Merry Christmas. Like I've only heard it from right-wing news outlets, or alternatively, I've heard it from people parroting right-wing news outlets. I will grant an exception. I have read at least one article, I believe, years ago, that tried to advocate for Happy Holidays over Merry Christmas, but it was an advocation for, like, parlance. Like, hey, maybe parlance should shift to this over this. That's it. Like the difference between saying that somebody is an R slur as an insult versus just calling them stupid. It is better to call them stupid because stupid is not an ableist slur, whereas the R word is. You undermine mental illnesses when you use that word outside of a strictly medical context. And that medical context doesn't even refer to mentality anymore. It's been phased out in that realm. It's only used now for like viruses and bacteria. There is an argument for working that word out of parlance, but that is not an argument for legislation or anything that would have any major societal impact. That's just working it out of parlance.
So then, which is it? Is all this elimination of the word Christmas important or not?
Well, no, not really. Like, it's only important if people are trying to police that kind of speech, but even then, there is an argument for businesses having that as an idea. Much like a business does not want you to try to convert somebody to your faith while you're on the clock, they also might not want you to try to push for your particular religious holiday whilst on the clock. But when you work for any company, that company is allowed to compel whatever speech from you that they choose. I literally was fired from a job for not having enough empathy. That was the reason given. Did not have enough empathy when customer injured themselves. A company can compel any kind of speech they want. That's part of having a private business. And last I checked, Dennis Prager is really big on private business. Like, incredibly big on private business.
The answer is obvious. It's very important. That's why so much effort is devoted to substituting other words for Christmas.
Can we also point out that Dennis Prager is not a Christian? He's a Jew, religiously. So the only reason that he would be fighting for Christmas so hard is if he was pandering to a particular audience that likes to watch Fox News as one example, and believes the war on Christmas is a real thing. So, huh. Yes, I did see the Dark Matter video. Wait, Real Lock. What are we wait knowing for? Wait, we didn't know that Prager we didn't know that Dennis Prager was Jewish? He's not a Christian. He's definitely Jewish. Okay, jokes and sarcasm. Fair enough. Also, can we point out that not Nakasuchi, somebody said it, this guy SL just brought up a wonderful point. This is the same thing as the gender pronoun problem, where somebody when somebody tries to argue that, oh, well, we shouldn't say Merry Christmas, we should say Happy Holidays, that's fine. But if you're going to try to argue the compelled speech route, like, no, I'm going to say Christmas when I want to, isn't that basically like just getting really mad over the pronoun of your holiday? Like, why does it matter? It's just words. I mean, that's what you said when it comes to gender. Why is this not the same thing? Zarok says, sent you 20. Well, you didn't have to send the 20 as well. I mean, I thank you. I'm happy for it. And I will be making an edited video over the video that you sent me. But you didn't have to send more. I mean, I'm not complaining, but still. Happy Holidays is hate speech. Oh, do you expect him to be consistent? No, not really.
And these efforts have been extraordinarily successful. In place of the universal Merry Christmas of my youth, in recent decades I have been wished Happy Holidays by every waiter and waitress in every restaurant I have dined, by everyone who welcomes me at any business, by my flight attendants and pilots, and by just about everyone else.
And why does that matter? Dennis Prager, you wouldn't possibly be trying to compel speech from other people, would you? Because that would be really weird. Being so upset that like something changed in the last few years that you would make a video about how something changed in the last few years and how it upset you. Like, society changes. That's a thing that happens. As people grow old and die, their ways of thinking don't necessarily pass on to the next generation. And so you have a new generation with a new line of thinking. Fourth Dimensional Jake, the answer to that is I am incredibly lazy and also an idiot. Real Lock for the $5. Suris is a War on Christmas battalion commander. If he gets more subs, he'll become a division commander. Oh my god. Okay. You know what? No. No. I can't. Not with that. So Zarok says he hates this. Lansper says, hey, why can I only see 10% of the messages that are on your stream in the actual chat? That's because this stream is going to multiple platforms. It is going to Facebook as well as going to YouTube. So you are seeing the chats for Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch all at the same time. However, if you are viewing on Twitch, you will only see the Twitch chat locally. But you can see all the chats in the feed. From my end, I see all of it. But from your end, you'll see whichever chat you happen to be plugged into. At the next Faithless Forum, I better see someone cosplay as Neko Suris, just saying. Suris, the FBI wants to know your location. Oh, wouldn't it?
When I respond, thank you, Merry Christmas, I often sense that I've actually created some tension. Many of those I wish Merry Christmas are probably relieved to hear someone who feels free to utter the C word.
Who? Who feels like they can't say Merry Christmas? Who? In the chat, please tell me. If you go outside and you tell somebody, at least here in America, in the States, if you say Merry Christmas, do you think that somebody's going... Wait, hold on. I think I know. I think I know what it is. If you say Merry Christmas out in the streets, the Antifas will get you. Be a brave warrior. Fight Antifa. Say Merry Christmas. This is a message from Dennis Prager. I'm not quite an Ozbol, but I might be adjacent to one. Holy shit. Dennis Prager, the brave culture warrior, saying Merry Christmas on an airplane that he's probably riding in first class because he's worth $4 million. Jesus. Musicombo says, how do you respond when somebody says that human beings aren't social animals? I actually used to get this argument a lot. They can argue that they, as a human being, are not sociable, but to argue that human beings as a social animal are that human beings as an animal species are not social is ludicrous. We literally have societies. Like, societies exist, and humans have only flourished because we have built and established societies with the agricultural revolution and technology. As a result, you can't argue that we are not social animals, because we, as a species, literally have thrived as social animals. When we operate individually, we fail. Humans as individuals fail. This is why even in the fucking workplace, in areas that we have socially constructed as spaces, we still function better collectively. This is why unions exist. Do you agree that tension is something completely imagined by Prager? Oh, I have no doubt. I have no doubt. I seriously have no doubt at all that he just fabricated that entire thing.
But all the sensitivity training they've had to undergo creates cognitive dissonance.
Oh boy, that's a term that you should be very familiar with, Denny Prager. Just saying.
The opponents of Merry Christmas and other uses of the word Christmas know exactly what they're doing. They're disingenuous when they dismiss defenders of Merry Christmas as fabricating some, quote, war on Christmas. Of course.
Yes, you fabricated the war on Christmas. This is not news. You can try to subvert people who argue that you fabricated this by going, we didn't do that. We said the C word. We called her a fucking Christmas. That's not the C word, Dennis. You can say Christmas anywhere in the States. Nobody fucking cares. Nobody actually cares. Fourth Dimensional Jake says, I've had backlash for saying Merry Christmas instead of Happy Holidays in public. You are the first person in my entire life that I have heard that I would actually believe when you say that. But who gave you backlash? Like, what is the actual story behind that backlash? Because it's not that I don't believe you, but I would like to know the context behind it. Christmas is obviously banned in public schools. If only. Now, maybe much Christmas imagery, like nativity scenes and like Jesus dying on the cross later on, stuff like that, might be considered banned in public spaces. But that's honestly fine, because that's not just Christmas imagery. That is overt religious imagery. And if they're willing to accept religious imagery from other religions, then by all means, we'll go ahead and put a Satanist Christmas in there. We'll go ahead and put some Yule imagery in there. Oh, wait, we've already done that! They have Christmas trees! What a weird world we live in.
Of course, it's a war on Christmas, or more precisely, a war on the religious nature of America. The left in America...
Wait. Hold on. Let me get this straight. Does anybody here in the chat know what the word holiday means? Please, in the chat. What is it? What is holiday shorthand for? Okay. For those who don't know, it is short for holy day. Like, it's holy day. If I say happy holidays, I am recognizing the religious nature of America. Because on this day, or in this season, we have many holy days. Not just the one. To recognize the multicultural, multifaceted, multi-religious nature of America is to say either your holiday or all holidays. And you can do it either way. You can either respond as an individual, my holiday that I am going to be celebrating, or you can respond in the collective sense, all holidays, happy holidays. Both of these are perfectly functional and fine. And both of them are ways in which we recognize the religious nature of America. But there's not just one religion in America. There are Muslims here. There are Jews here. There are Christians who don't celebrate Christmas within America. There are polytheists in America. There are non-theistic religious organizations in America, like Satanism. Also, Alex Varensky says, I'm taking a shit as I'm watching this. Anyone else? I wish I could be taking a shit as I stream. I wish I could do that. We should say, have a sad holiday to piss off Prager.
Like the left in Europe, wants to create a thoroughly secular society.
Wait a minute. Is Europe thoroughly secular? This is news to me. Last I checked, at least, sans Brexit, there are state religions in many of those areas. How secular is Europe? Do. There was actually a study on this done in 2006. And in that study, it points out in the abstract, I'm not reading the entire study right now, I'll probably do that later, but it points out in the abstract that even though religious influence in Europe has declined, mainly due to, or mainly in relation to church attendance, whether Europe should be qualified as secularized in terms of religious beliefs is completely unclear. Now, granted, this is a little over a decade old research. There needs to be something more recent that I can look at, but holy shit. The idea that Europe is thoroughly secularized. Tony brings up a good point. Vatican City's in Europe. Thoroughly secularized my left fucking toe.
Not a secular government, which is a desirable goal and which in any event has always been the case in America, but a secular society.
Oh, wait a minute. Did you just admit that we have a secular government? Oh, those people who try to argue that we have a Christian nation are going to have a bad time with you, Dennis. They're going to have a bad time. They're not going to like you saying that. They're not.
Most people do not realize that the left believes in secularism as fervently as religious Jews and Christians believe in the Bible. That's why.
Did he just say Jews believe in the Bible? Okay. Okay. Obviously, that statement is something that I'm not going to be able to clear out of my head for a long time. But I'm going to fucking try anyway. Realox says, careful. I'll be fine. What's the worst that could happen? I'm fine. But I figured that that would be something for fun. Anywho. Guys, I can't swing this hammer with any force. The thing's broken. Though, my spawn record's better than Jesus. It took me about 3 seconds. It took him 3 days. Suris has a floppy hammer.
Why Merry Christmas bothers secular activists. It's a blatant reminder of just how religious America is and always has been. So here's a prediction. Activists on the left will eventually seek to remove Christmas as a national holiday. Now,
wait, so, but you do realize that there are other religions that have their holidays at this point, and you can still have it as a national holiday. Like, the whole point behind being secular is that you can be outside of religion, but you can still have those holidays, because there are people who are still going to want those holidays who have their religions. This is fine. Oh my god. Jagged Bird. You scared the fuck out of me, you piece of shit.
Now, the left doesn't announce that its agenda is to thoroughly secularize American and European societies. Instead, they offer the inclusiveness argument.
I mean, so a secularized society, in that their governments are secular, would be a good thing. But if you're going to say that, well, the society should be secular, well, I don't know if that's the case. It does seem that secular societies may have a higher threshold of happiness, but again, I don't know if this is necessarily a moral ought. And there are people on the left who are religious. This is completely ignoring the fact that there are people who are Christians, who are Muslims, who are Jews, who are pagans, who are on the left, who are religious and do not want to see that taken away from society. What? Dennis! Dennis, please! Please make sense. Please, I need you to.
That Merry Christmas or Christmas party or Christmas vacation is not inclusive. This inclusive...
So, if we accept this part of the argument is true, right? We'll do that for a half a second. If we accept this part of the argument is true, then why would it matter? Like, if we're going to say that things need to be more inclusive, right? And if I say that, what does it cost you to be inclusive? What does it actually cost you? Now, there might be a measure of freedom that you feel like you have lost when you say something like Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas, but let's be honest, you have the ability to say Merry Christmas. Like, that's a thing you can do. You're not forced or compelled in any way. But even if you were, even if we granted that you were, what did it really cost you besides a couple of words that you liked to be more inclusive? Nobody said you couldn't practice your religious holiday. Nobody said you couldn't put up nativity scenes. Nobody said you couldn't put up your lights. Nobody said you couldn't do all the things that you would do on Christmas anyway. Just maybe if you're at work, say Happy Holidays instead of Christmas. But that's if we grant the fucking compelled speech thing, which I don't.
Argument plays on Americans' highly developed sense of decency, but the argument is preposterous. Who exactly is being excluded when one wishes someone Merry Christmas?
Jews? Jews, Dennis! Jews! You do realize that you're a Jew, right? And they are excluded? Muslims are excluded when you do that, Dennis Prager. Pagans are excluded when you do that, Dennis Prager. You may not personally feel that because, let's be honest, you're pretty much just culturally Christian. Or at least just pandering that way anyway. I guess that's your grift. But Dennis, anybody who does not have the religion that coincides with Christmas is excluded in the statement, Merry Christmas. How is this not understood? How is this a difficult concept? Not everyone celebrates Christmas, Dennis! Holy shit!
Non-Christians? I'm a non-Christian. I'm a Jew.
Thank you! Thank you! Now that you've thoroughly shot yourself in the foot, let's say you continue.
Christmas is not a religious holy day for me, but I'm an American, and Christmas is a national holiday in my country. It is therefore my holiday, though not my holy day.
That's the same thing! Holiday is shorthand for holy day, Dennis! That's what the word means! That's what it says! Holy shit! God damn it. I recognize that distinction is there. And I'm okay with accepting that distinction. Because I technically don't have any holy days, but I'm fine taking holidays. Fine, whatever. If we want to accept that distinction for the fucking time, go ahead, that's fine. But if we accept that, then we accept that it's not... We accept that Christmas can then be secular. If you can celebrate it as a holiday but not a holy day, we accept that it can be secular. And if the secularization of society is the thing you have a problem with, Dennis, but you accept in your fucking argument that Christianity can have a secular holiday, like a secularized Christmas, which it would have to have if you're going to celebrate it as a Jew, then guess what, Dennis? You don't have a fucking argument. Secularization is not a problem for you because you've already been fucking living it. Holy godballs. Also, hi, Casey. How are you doing today? We're screaming at Dennis Prager. Jesus. I just want to die a little.
As much as it is for my fellow Americans who are Christian. That's why it's not surprising that it was an American Jew, Irving Berlin, who wrote White Christmas, one of America's most popular Christmas songs.
Why does it fucking matter who wrote... Dennis, you realize... Hold on. Why does it matter who wrote it? Like, when you were arguing that, oh, somebody who wasn't a Christian wrote a Christmas song. That's my argument for the war on Christmas. Holy shit. Yes, Dennis, that's the point. Because Christmas can be secular. Holy fuck, Dennis. You're just pointing out that Christmas can be secular. Therefore, secularization shouldn't be a fucking problem for you. Jesus. You keep doing it.
In fact, according to a Jewish musician writing in the New York Times, almost all the most popular Christmas songs were written by Jews.
Oh. Okay. Does anybody else see some of the weird subtext to that? I hope I'm not the only one that sees the fucking weird subtext to that. I'm not going to say that Dennis Prager just accidentally slipped in an incredibly light form of the Jewish question. And I'm not going to say that Dennis Prager just engaged in identity politics. But I think he just put in a really light form of the JQ, and he just engaged in some heavy fucking id pull. There's a lot of weird subtext there, so you'll have to be more specific. Okay, so, for those who don't know, the Jewish question is a thing that Hitler popularized in Nazi Germany that is still used to this day by people like fucking Nicholas Fuentes. JQ is trying to say that, oh, well, Jews control X amount of society, what should we do about that? It doesn't matter who fucking controls it as long as their policies are fine. It doesn't matter what religion they have. It doesn't matter what race they are. That's why the JQ is a fucking bullshit thing. But, regardless, when you try to argue for the JQ, usually the argument for the JQ involves some form of Jewish influence on society, like influence on media, music, movies, etc. So when people bring up the JQ, this thing that Dennis Prager, this fucking thing right here that Dennis Prager just put up on his screen would become a talking point for a Nazi. Or at least a Nazi adjacent. As a result, Suris controls the Suris Skeptic YouTube channel. As a result, when I see something like this, the thing that was there, it bugs me because I see that and I know where that talking point goes. I know who that talking point is for. As a result, that pisses me off. Just a little bit. Suris is breaking, eyebrows raised to the stratosphere. Whoop. Anyone else want to slap Dennis in the face right now? I'd love to. The term Jewish question is older than Hitler before the Third Reich. It was even discussed by Jews. Fair. Though I know that in like massive publication, Hitler was one of the ones that brought it to the forefront in conversation. This is why most of your JQers also do the whole 1488 thing. The 88 for Heil Hitler and the 14 for the 14 words. Suris question. Why does Suris control his own YouTube channel? Well, because I don't have control of anything in my life, so I might as well at least have a YouTube channel I have some control over.
Apparently, all these American Jews felt quite included by Christmas. By not...
Because it was secularized, Dennis. That thing you're arguing against is the thing that let them feel included in the first place. But just because some Jews felt included by Merry Christmas does not mean that everyone of every religion, or possibly people who do not have religions, feel included by Merry Christmas. I personally feel included by Merry Christmas, but I know atheists who don't. You can bring up a few examples, but that doesn't make you right. Oh, Jake has a thing typed up now. I was at the mall shopping Christmas. One of the other shoppers said you really shouldn't use that Happy Holidays because there are people besides Christians. First time it happened was several years ago. It happened a few times, and I'd say one of those times that someone seemed really upset. I also had a very similar conversation at work. Sorry for the delay. No, that's fine. I figured it would take a little while. Considering stories take a little bit of type time. So, while I can accept that there are some people on an individual level who may have issues with Christmas, again, there are people who don't feel included by it. In general, in the United States, that's not a thing that most people are going to encounter. I would say that what you experienced there, and I'm not trying to undermine it, obviously it's a real thing that happened, and that is important, but it seems to me, based on the amount of people I've talked to about this issue over the years, it's not something that comes up all that often. In fact, more often than not, when somebody says Merry Christmas, somebody else usually responds, especially here in the South, with, well, at least somebody's saying Merry Christmas. Somebody knows the reason for the season. It's much more rare that you'll get somebody being upset, and more often that you will get somebody who is not. Again, that's just my take on that, though. Maybe there are a lot more people who I do not know who have experienced the same thing you have experienced, and I would need to have a conversation with them. But it does seem to me to be a thing that happens very, very much rarely, and if it happens there, I think somebody should be able to say Merry Christmas. Because, again, if you, like I said, if you are saying Merry Christmas, you are celebrating your particular holiday, and nobody can tell you that you shouldn't celebrate your particular holiday.
Wishing me a Merry Christmas, you are not being inclusive. You are excluding me from one of my nation's national holidays. But
nobody's excluding you, Dennis. You can celebrate your holiday whenever the fuck you want with the $4 million you sit on.
Even if Christmas were not a national holiday, I would want pilots to wish their passengers Merry Christmas, companies to have Christmas parties, and schools to continue to have Christmas vacations. Just because I don't personally celebrate Christmas, why would I want to drop the word Christmas when the holiday is celebrated by 90% of my fellow Americans?
And it is because it is celebrated by 90% of your fellow Americans that there is not a fucking war on Christmas. Godless Engineer says that the war on Christmas is anti-Semitic, historically speaking. That I have not actually heard before. Is there a source for that I can look into? Because that's the first time I've heard that. Much like with when Fourth Dimensional Jake brought up his thing. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I would like to see at least something on that, because again, that's the first time I've heard about it. I've never heard it as an anti-Semitic thing. It might... Oh, well, actually, I can think of a justification for that, actually. There is a way I could justify that statement, though. And that's that people who argue for the war on Christmas did it as a matter of Christian superiority over Jews, which is a thing that we did see in Nazi Germany for at least a bit. There was a lot of endorsement of Hitler by the Catholics in Nazi Germany, though there were Lutherans and other ministers who had a huge issue with what Hitler was doing after a while. So I guess I could kind of see the justification there, but I still would like to see something on it. That sounds like it'd be an interesting read. What is your response to Kwanzaa as a fake holiday? All holidays are fake. All holidays are social constructs. No holiday is more fake or more real. The only thing that makes a holiday real or fake is its establishment, and even then, that doesn't necessarily make it real. They're still social constructs. We've built them. We've constructed them around whatever religions or whatever events we've had that we think constitute holidays. Message you on Twitter. Okay, awesome. Thank you. I will take and look at that real quick. She sent me a link, A History of the War on Christmas. Ah, okay, awesome. Awesome, then that will be something I will be reading into later today. Okay. Suris, thoughts on Badampada? Do you think he's also a rising star on BreadTube? I don't know a lot about Badampada, so I couldn't tell you. I know that my friend Pigpuncher has had a few interactions on Twitter with Badampada, and they have some disagreements, but I don't know enough about Badampada myself to make a judgment there, so I'm not going to.
It borders on the misanthropic, not to mention the mean-spirited, to want to deny nearly all of your fellow citizens the joy of having Christmas
Oh my
parties
God, does he have somebody
or being
punching a
wished
mall
a
Santa?
Merry Christmas. The vast majority of Americans who celebrate
Punches a
Christmas
mall Santa.
and who treat non-Christians so well deserve better. So please say Merry Christmas and Christmas party.
Wait, Dennis, you wouldn't possibly be trying to compel my speech now, would you? That sounds like a really awkward thing that you might do in a situation like this, arguing against compelled speech. It seems like instead of trying to argue for a freedom of speech, what you're arguing is that you don't like compelled speech when it compels you against speech you like, but when it is speech you like, that speech should be compelled. So, Dennis, I'm going to go ahead and say right now, no. I'm going to say Merry Christmas to who I want. I'm going to say Happy Holidays to who I want. I generally say Merry Christmas. But I also sometimes say Happy Holidays. And fuck you if you think you can tell me which one I should use at any given day.
And Christmas vacation. If you don't, you're not inclusive. You're hurtful.
Wait,
Dennis.
but why does it matter if we're hurtful, Dennis? They're just words. Sticks and stones can break your birds, but words can never hurt you. I believe you've got several videos on your channel that are dedicated specifically to pointing out how words can't actually cause any real harm. So how can me not saying Merry Christmas hurt you? How is me not using the words that you want me to use hurt you? That sounds really fucking weird, Dennis. Oh my gosh. No, the 25th is not for Horus. The Horus comparisons to Jesus are almost all overblown. I may not agree with Richard Carrier on a lot, but he actually has a really good breakdown of why the Horus comparisons to Jesus are not accurate.
Prager.
This course was made possible by a generous donation from Reagan.com. Of course it was. Because the Warhawk Ronald Reagan was such a good influence on America going forward. Whew. Okay then. Well, that all said, for those of you who have donated during the stream, thank you very much. I know there were a few people who donated in Super Chats. I am very thankful for those ones as well. Let me make sure that there's no Super Chats that I didn't get to. And for those who have donated via PayPal, and are therefore eligible for the video responses that will be done after this, thank you for that, and I will be getting onto those video responses over the next few weeks. Let me go ahead and look at these real quick to make sure that I've got them all. And yes, I do. I have gotten all Super Chats, unless a random one comes in that I'm not aware of. So, that all said, thank you all for watching. I'm going to go ahead and get food because I am starting to feel my stomach cave in. That is a thing that I need to fix. So thank you all for tuning in, everyone.